on Dr. Phil. She had sex with her student.
Stupid is not a big enough word to describe what you've done. What was it that happened?
Well, I think the whole world knows what happened.
Well, I don't think they do.
She could face prison.
I'm not a monster and I'm not a predator.
You're having sex in your classroom.
And I'm going to pay for it forever.
Now,
Has this hurt him in any way?
I wouldn't think so. He was very flirty. He knew exactly what he was doing.
But he was 15.
the exclusive interview.
Did you see yourself marrying him?
Yes.
You see yourself marrying an 8th grader. Did you resign because you thought I can continue my relationship with him?
Yes.
Today, when you send your children to school, you aren't expecting them to get a real live sex education from their teacher. But there's a truly disturbing, hot for teacher trend in headlines recently. Dozens of female teachers arrested for having sex and sometimes even torrid love affairs with their students. We are hearing about this way too much in the news these days. Take a look.
Once honored as Teacher of the Year, now must serve 38 years in a Florida state prison.
There are allegations tonight that Catherine Camille Murray took her relationship with one student way too far.
This is another shocking example of a teacher who has really violated their position of trust and taken complete advantage of a 15-year-old boy.
Kelly Watson is accused of having a sexual relationship with a boy she met while teaching at a special education school in Vista.
The former Thorsby teacher who pled guilty to having an inappropriate relationship with a 14-year-old boy now knows her fate.
40-year-old Queens teacher Joy Morsiak pleading guilty to one count of rape in the 3rd degree.
A Pennsylvania high school teacher found out today that she will go to prison for having sex with one of her students.
Do you regret it? What about to the parents who trusted you? Anything to say to them?
How and why is this happening? Well, today, perhaps we may find out, because we are speaking to one of those accused teachers. Jennifer Caswell, who was known to her middle school English students by her married name, Mrs. Sexton, was arrested in June 2014 after sleeping with her 15-year-old student. According to police at first, the student denied their love connection and said, "She's just a nice teacher." But police say the boy has since admitted he did have several sexual encounters with Mrs. Sexton in her classroom, her home, her car. Police say Jennifer even followed her 15-year-old student on his summer vacation 650 miles away to Mississippi, where she had sex with him in a hotel room. Take a look.
A former teacher from Hollis is charged with sexually assaulting a former student.
A school teacher is facing a string of charges following an affair with a 15-year-old boy.
28-year-old Jennifer Caswell is accused of engaging in several inappropriate acts with a 15-year-old boy. Police say 2 of those encounters allegedly happened inside Caswell's classroom.
Aside from the classroom, there are reports that the pair had secret hookups in her car and also in his family home.
8-year-old Jennifer Sexton struck up a relationship with a teenage student months before she was caught having sex with him in a hotel room.
She's understood to have travelled 650 miles to a Mississippi hotel where the pair were caught by police and she was later arrested.
She is now in police custody facing a string of charges.
If found guilty, Jennifer Sexton will be listed on the child sex registry for the rest of her life.
So, what on earth might have made a married teacher with her own young son do something like this? Today, for the first time ever, Jennifer Caswell is speaking out in an exclusive interview. Why were you a teacher?
I've always enjoyed working with children.
You've been a teacher for like 7 years.
Well, I worked at the school, in the school system for 7 years.
7 years, okay.
Yes. I was in aide for the majority of that.
Okay, and how long had you actually been a teacher?
That was my first year being the certified teacher.
Okay. What grade were you teaching class-wise when this incident happened?
6th, 7th, and 8th.
What grade was this particular student in? That
8th grade.
And had you ever met or known this student before?
No.
How did it cross the line, in your opinion? What was the first breach in terms of teacher-student relationship?
He was very flirty, and I should have put a stop to it then, and I didn't. I wasn't used to getting attention, and so, I mean, it felt nice to have someone compliment me and things like that because I felt very unwanted.
Describe him personality-wise, if you can, for me.
He was very funny, very outgoing. He could make me laugh and smile a lot. And he was very mature, and he knew what to say.
Did you see him as a child, or did you see him as a man?
Neither. I mean, he wasn't a man, but I didn't see him as a child. I mean, he's nearly 6 feet tall. I mean, he's definitely not a child, but he was very mature.
You said that you were vulnerable to somebody telling you flirty things or things that you wanted to hear. Tell me why that is.
Well, I wasn't used to getting attention at all.
Were you in a situation where you didn't hear a lot of compliments?
Exactly. I was with a guy for 10 years, and I mean, I never got complimented, never even got a birthday present, Christmas present, for Valentine's Day, nothing. I felt really bad about myself. I mean, I never thought I would be in this situation. I'm not a monster and I'm not a predator. I made a stupid decision, but I don't like people having the image of me that they do, because that's not me. I'm a very shy person. I keep to myself, but I made a stupid decision.
And how long had you been married?
We had been married 7 years, but we had been together for 10.
Children?
I have one son.
Okay, how old?
6.
And would you say the marriage was not a good marriage?
No. I mean, we didn't fight, but that's only because we didn't talk. It was like living with a roommate.
Was there affection in the marriage?
No. He would come home, he would talk on the phone to his friends for an hour or two, and then he would go to the playroom and play his Xbox till 1 or 2 in the morning.
He wasn't the type to compliment you or tell
No.
you look nice?
I've never once heard that.
Was he affectionate with you physically? Did he hug you, pat
No,
you,
we never
kiss you?
held hands or cuddled on the couch or anything like that.
Did you miss that?
Yeah, I mean, I wanted that. I mean, I need that. And I wasn't getting it there.
So you're frustrated? So all of a sudden you're in this situation, and this young man begins to give you that attention.
Yes.
And what kind of things would he say to you?
I mean, he would always tell me how beautiful I was and how I was a good person on the inside.
You actually started having a relationship with him of a sexual nature in May?
Yes, it was after I resigned. I was not a teacher when this was going on. I had resigned.
And you started being his teacher at what time of the year?
Well, I was a student teacher then, and then when we came back in January, I was the official teacher. but-
Okay, so you'd gotten your certificate, and so in January you were actually a teacher.
Yes.
And by that point, did you and this student have a banter going back and forth?
No.
When did it begin that he started to say things to you that started to get to you?
I'm really not good with timelines. I'm thinking around March or so, at the end, maybe February, March, around there.
Okay, then where did it go? How did it progress from there?
After I resigned, I was invited over to the house numerous times, and I was welcomed there. And that's pretty much how it started.
You resigned in April.
Yes.
Okay, why did you resign?
Well, because the school became suspicious, and when they called me out on it, I kind of freaked out, and I just signed the paper to resign, and I walked out.
Okay, but what was happening that was making them suspicious?
He was seen in my classroom after school.
He started hanging around your classroom?
Yes.
Because people reported it. They said,
Yes.
we see him coming and going from the classroom
Yeah.
after everybody else is gone. And did they ask for any explanation of why he was there?
Yeah.
What'd you say?
He was in there helping me, and he really was. I was working on something for a pageant.
They didn't buy it?
I don't know, I guess not.
What did they know that made them demand your resignation?
Because he was seen leaving the room, and he wasn't supposed to be in there, and they knew that he was very flirty towards me, and I panicked. They did an investigation on it, and actually they came up with nothing, but I resigned anyways.
What happened when you were in there alone? Did he put his hands on you? Did you guys hug? Did you kiss? What did happen?
Well, I don't want to get into those specific details because I don't want the school to be blamed for this. This was my stupid decision and not the school's.
Well, this isn't about the school. I mean, they got word of it. They called you in, confronted you, you resigned and left. So there's no culpability on the school. But he was coming to your classroom when nobody else was around. What were you doing in that classroom that you didn't want anybody else to see?
I mean, he would hug me, but really not much than that if he was dropping by. It was never numerous times or anything like that. I mean, he might drop by and give me a compliment and hug me, but then he would leave.
Do you know of any reason that people might report that oral sex took place in the classroom?
He did tell people that, and he admitted that he did make that up and he was lying. A few days before I had resigned, something inappropriate happened in my classroom, but all the other times
Okay, tell me
it was
about
not sexual.
Tell me about the few days before you resigned.
I was in my classroom and he came by, and that's when it happened.
And what was it that happened?
Well, I think the whole world knows what happened.
Well, I don't think they do.
Well, that's when the relationship became inappropriate.
Did you have sex in your classroom then?
Coming up.
How did this happen? How long did this encounter last?
Maybe 2 hours.
Did both of you get completely disrobed?
Scandal Confession. A Dr. Phil exclusive continues.
Did you have sex in your classroom then?
Yes. The one time.
Tell me how that happened.
He came in, I was working on things. He kept coming closer to me, and I would kind of walk away to the other part, another room, another area of the classroom, and he just walked up to me, and then he kissed me, and then it just kind of went from there.
How long did this encounter last?
I mean, he was probably in my room for, maybe 2 hours, I guess.
And how long was the inappropriate part?
I'd say maybe 10 or 15 minutes.
Did both of you get completely disrobed?
No.
Did you get partially disrobed? How did this happen?
Well, I was walking around the classroom straightening up the desks, and I guess it was standing up.
And at that point, did you ever ask him to not do it?
Yes, I was, I kept on saying, no, we can't do this, no, but he wasn't forcing me. I could have easily just walked out of my classroom, but I didn't. But I was resisting, because I knew it was wrong, but I didn't.
And how did you feel afterwards?
Terrified. I just couldn't believe that I had done something like that.
Had he ever kissed you off campus anywhere or anything like that?
No, there was nothing before that.
So it went to going full out?
He did kiss me maybe 2 or 3 days before it happened. That was the first time he had kissed me. I'm sorry, I was confused by the timing of that.
And where did that kiss take place?
In the classroom.
What happened the next time you saw him?
He came by to apologize because I had resigned, and that's when he said that I should come by his house and speak with him and his father, and that's what I did.
What did you say?
They were just very apologetic, that I had lost my job over this, and I was being invited over there numerous times, and I would go.
So you continued the relationship there?
Yes.
What were they apologizing for?
Because he knew that his son was seen leaving my classroom.
But he did not know that the two of you had had sex in the classroom?
As far as I know, I don't believe so.
Well, what were they apologizing for?
That I had lost my job over the fact that he was in my classroom, I guess.
What did you do when you went over there?
We would sit in the living room and talk. We would all talk, or we'd watch a movie or something like that.
You, the boy, and his father?
Yes.
Now, your father is a pastor?
No, I've never read a news story that had the story right. My father is not a pastor.
Okay, that's why I'm asking, so you could clear that up. He is not a pastor?
No, he is not.
Okay, why are they reporting that he's a pastor?
I guess because the young man's father is a pastor.
Okay, the young man's father is a pastor.
Yes.
Were you affectionate with the boy when you were there?
Not at the beginning, not too much.
But later on you were?
We never kissed in front of him or anything.
When was the next time that you had sex with the boy?
After I resigned, it was probably 3 weeks after that, I guess.
And where was that?
I don't remember. Maybe in my car.
And where did you go?
We would just drive around anywhere, in the country.
And did you do this frequently?
I wouldn't say frequently, maybe about 6 times.
Did your husband ever question where you were or what you were doing?
No, because I had already filed for divorce.
Did you have sex at your home?
No.
At his home?
Yes.
But his father wasn't around when you did?
Correct.
And how many times did that happen?
At his home, once.
It is also reported that the boy took a trip for a vacation, is that correct?
Yes.
And that you drove 650 miles to see him while he was in Mississippi?
Yes.
Tell me about that.
Well, he had been gone about a month and a half, and during that time, we talked on the phone nearly all day, every day, and so he wanted me to come visit him. And I thought, there's plenty of things to do there, and if there's a chance that I get to see him, fine. If not, no big deal.
Where did you see him?
In a parking lot. He had snuck out of the house and jumped a fence and ran across the parking lot and got in my car.
And then where did y'all go?
Back to my hotel.
Were you found there?
Yes.
Tell me about that.
Well, the police knocked on the door, and I opened it up, and they said, what are you doing here? I said, I'm visiting. And they said, visiting who? And I said, a friend. And they said, is he in there? And I said, yes. And they came in. And
how did they know you were there?
I don't know.
Well, somebody had to tell them, right?
Yeah. My ex was logging into my Facebook, logging into my email. And I don't know if he's the one that saw my hotel reservations in Mississippi, or, I really don't know how that happened.
So he may have seen it and called them.
Yeah.
When they knocked on that door, you opened it, it's the police. Tell me what you thought.
It really hadn't hit me yet. I still didn't realize, the big trouble that it was going to follow.
But at that point, it had not registered with you that this was a criminal relationship? You were 27 when this started.
Yes.
Okay, and the boy was
15.
That is statutory rape, and you knew that was a crime.
Teacher scandal confession. She had sex with her 15-year-old student continues.
Jennifer Sexton is a middle school teacher from Oklahoma who is accused of having an illicit relationship with her 15-year-old student. She's understood to have traveled 650 miles to a Mississippi hotel where the pair were caught by police and she was later arrested.
When they knocked on that door, and it's the police, it had not registered with you that this was a criminal relationship?
No, the town that I'm from, this happens quite a bit. It's still going on, and if no one's pressing the issue, there's no charges. And unfortunately for me, someone was pressing the issue.
Okay, you're how old?
I'm 29.
So you were 27 when this started?
Yes.
Okay, and the boy was?
15.
So there's a 12-year difference, and he's 15. That's a minor.
Yes.
That, in any of the 50 states, is statutory rape, right?
Yes.
Now, I know you're not a lawyer, and I know you're not a criminal prosecutor, but I also know that you're a college-educated woman, and you know what a minor is.
Yes.
And you know that having sex with a minor is a crime, right?
Yes.
And you knew that was a crime.
Yes.
Okay, and when I first asked you, you said, I never had sex with him until I resigned. But then you said, well, actually, I had sex with him several days before I resigned.
I don't remember saying I never had sex with him before I resigned.
That's what you said. So were you confused about the timing?
Yeah, I'm kind of confused right now.
Because I want to be sure that I have it straight.
Okay.
Because you resigned on the 14th of April, I believe.
Okay.
But whatever the day was, you did have sex with him in your classroom while you were a teacher at the school.
One time, yes.
Okay. So this was a teacher having sex with a student, and it was an adult having sex with a minor. And both of those are way across the line, right?
Yes.
And you didn't resign because it looked bad. You resigned because you had had sex in a classroom and people were talking about it.
Yeah.
They didn't know everything, but you did.
Yeah.
Did you resign to stop that investigation?
It was just kind of a split decision. I just signed it and got out of there.
What did they know?
I believe someone had told them that they had seen him touch my butt in the hallway, and I don't remember that. I mean, I didn't feel it or something, because I don't remember that happening, but someone did report that.
And how long before you resigned was this?
Maybe a couple weeks or a month, I don't really know.
So this had gotten physical long before you actually had sex?
No, well, I don't remember him grabbing my butt in the hallway, but someone had reported that.
Did you resign because you thought, if I resign, I can continue my relationship with him?
Yes.
So you thought, job or him? I'll give up the job because I want him.
Yes. He made me happy, and so I'd rather be happy than be miserable and have my job.
So you quit to clear the decks, so there would be no reason not to be with him.
Yeah.
But you still had the problem that he was a minor.
Yes. But in this town, I mean, there was a cop who dated a minor. She was 15 and he was in his 20s, and he was a cop, and nobody cared.
So you're saying the culture in the town, that was not taboo?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people do it.
So culture in the town's okay, teacher's a problem, being a teacher student's a problem, so get rid of that.
Yeah.
And then you're good to go.
Yeah.
And in fact, that's what you did. You started going to his house, you started hanging out with him, filed for divorce, spending time with him, and you pursued it just that way.
Yes.
If it's okay in the culture, why sneak around? Why not just do it openly?
Because it's not okay if someone's pressing the issue, and my ex-husband was pressing the issue. Every time my car was seen at his house, he called the cops, and he finally contacted the DA.
So you knew they were after you?
Yes.
And you continued anyway?
Yes.
Why?
I was hoping that he would eventually just move on and leave it alone.
Did you see yourself being with him long term?
Yes.
Marrying him?
Yes.
He was 15. I mean, he was 8th grade?
Yes.
You see yourself marrying an 8th grader?
Coming up.
Did you see yourself having a child with him?
Yes.
Are you still in love with him?
Ready to Love is back, y'all. In this season, we're...
Teacher scandal confession. She had sex with her 15-year-old student continues.
Did you see yourself being with him long term?
Yes.
Marrying him?
Yes.
He was 15. I mean, you see yourself marrying an 8th grader.
Well, not at the time that he was in 8th grade, but years later, it could have been a possibility.
You would wait till 9th grade, 10th grade, till it became legal?
Probably till he graduated.
So you were going to wait 4 years for him to graduate in hopes that you would get married?
Yeah.
Did you see yourself having a child with him?
Yes.
Did you want to get pregnant with him?
No, not at that time, no.
When the police first approached him, he denied any involvement, correct?
Yes.
He said, we're friends. She's my teacher, we're friends. But then he ratted you out.
After months of them questioning him.
He caved.
Yeah.
How do you feel about that?
I mean, I'm sure he was scared, and I'm not angry at him for that. I mean, they interrogated him and questioned him numerous times, and he continually denied it, and eventually he confessed.
Have you talked to him?
No.
Has he reached out to communicate to you?
He's contacted me twice on Facebook, but I have not responded. I didn't reply back, and then I blocked him.
When you were together intimately, did he tell you he loved you?
Yes.
Did he?
I don't know. I mean, I'm sure at that age he probably was thinking he truly did, but I don't know if he really did or not.
Did you fall in love with him?
At the time, I thought I was.
Are you still in love with him?
No. I was never in love with him. I see that now.
Why do you not have feelings for him anymore?
You move on. I mean, it was just a stupid mistake. I was very, very low feeling about myself, and he made me feel better.
Is there any reason that someone would say that you were involved with another student?
No.
Was this the only student that you ever had any feelings for?
Yes.
Were you the first person that he had had sex with?
No.
How do you know that?
He had told me he had sex before, and he had told me that he had even had sex with a 24-year-old.
Was there ever a time when you said, I absolutely have to stop this? I'm involved with a student. The ink's not dry on my teaching certificate, and I've violated the canon of ethics within 6 weeks of having my certificate.
Mm-hmm.
Did that ever?
When I got arrested in Mississippi, yeah.
How do you feel about the charges that are against you now?
I will be a registered sex offender for the rest of my life.
How do you feel about that?
It's horrible, because that's for life. I'm going to be a sex offender forever. I'm not a predator. I'm not a sex offender. I'm not a threat or a danger to anyone. It's here forever. And I'm going to pay for it forever.
You're being charged as a rapist.
And I didn't force anything. I'm not a rapist.
Did you rape this child?
No. I mean, according to the law, it was statutory rape, but I did not force anything. I didn't manipulate. I didn't take advantage. He knew exactly what he was doing, and I didn't force anything.
Has this hurt him in any way?
Coming up.
If you had a 15-year-old son and some 27-year-old woman had sex with him in the classroom and sent him back home to you, you would consider him unharmed.
Dry eye symptoms keep driving you crazy? Inflammation in your eye might be to blame.
Let's kick Ken's ache and burn into gear.
Over-the-counter eye drops typically work by lubricating your eyes and may provide temporary relief.
Those drops will probably pass right by me.
Xiidra works differently, targeting inflammation that can cause dry eye disease.
What is that? Xiidra!
It can provide lasting relief. Xiidra is the only FDA-approved non-steroid treatment specifically for the signs and symptoms of dry eye disease. 1 drop in each eye twice a day. Don't use if you're allergic to Xiidra. Common side effects include eye irritation, discomfort, or blurred...
Teacher Scandal Confession. A Dr. Phil exclusive continues.
Has this hurt?
I meant no one any harm, and no one was harmed.
So you don't believe that If you had a 15-year-old son and he went to school and some 27-year-old woman had sex with him in the classroom and sent him back home to you, you would consider him unharmed?
Yes.
You would think that's the time in his life that he should be having sex with a 27-year-old woman?
There is no set age. It varies with everyone, but he's not harmed.
So you think emotionally this didn't fast track him, this didn't put him in a situation where he got to a level of maturity in a relationship that he was not ready for?
He had relationships with other people before. I wasn't his first time, and so...
Did you use protection?
No. Well, was on birth control, so yes.
You use protection as far as pregnancy is concerned?
Yes.
Is your husband trying to take your son?
Yes. He said that with all these charges that I would take my son and kidnap him and run away. And that's just ridiculous.
Are you allowed to see your son now?
Yes.
Do you have to be supervised?
Yes, my parents have to be with me.
Why?
He said that I would take him and run away. And if my parents are there, then they would be accountable too.
So he got supervised visits on the theory that you're a flight risk?
Yes.
Are you a flight risk?
No.
Are you standing to be accountable here?
I even turned myself in. I'm not running.
Are you going to prison?
More than likely. They want to send me for 10 years.
Is that fair?
I don't think it's fair. I've learned my lesson, and there's no reason that I need to be taken off the streets. I'm going to be a registered sex offender for the rest of my life. That's a huge punishment.
What do you think should happen to someone that has done what you've done? Do you agree that you've committed a transgression here?
What I did was wrong, and it was illegal. I would like probation, but I don't feel that's going to happen. I don't need to be locked away because I'm never going to do anything like that ever again.
What do you say to parents that send their children to school to get an education and their teacher has sex with them? Did they get their money's worth, their tax dollars worth? Did they get what they bargained for?
Coming up.
If he became of age and he looked you up, can you see rekindling this relationship?
If I wasn't involved with anyone else, possibly.
Who are you most upset with here?
Her answer to that question shocked even Dr. Phil.
That's the first answer that has surprised me.
Teacher Scandal Confession. A Dr. Phil exclusive continues.
What do you say to parents that send their children to school to get an education and their teacher has sex with them? Do they get what they bargained for?
No.
Is that what they send their kids to school for?
No.
Do you think that you should be punished?
Yeah.
And you think you are being punished by being a registered sex offender?
Yes. I don't want to be grouped in as a sex offender. There are, people out there who really are predators and they're forcing things, and I don't want to be grouped in with those people.
So to be sure I understand this student started flirting and complimenting you. Within a matter of weeks, you have sex with him in your classroom. You resign so you can pursue a relationship with him.
Pretty much.
You file for divorce and you do pursue a relationship with him.
Yes.
But your husband presses the issue.
Yes.
And even in light of knowing the cops are on to me, I'm clearly in violation of the law, you pursue it anyway.
Yes.
Across state lines.
Yes.
Because you think you're in love. The student ultimately flips, confesses, and now you face 6 counts of sexual charges.
Yes.
And the plea offer on the table is 10 years and a lifetime registry as a sex offender.
Yes.
And you believe that's harsh.
That's very harsh.
But you get what you've done is a transgression.
Yes.
You get it violates the trust that a teacher has to have when they take the children of a community, and this is legally a child, under their care. You violated that trust. And you say, and I resigned, but you didn't resign because you violated trust. You resigned so you could pursue the child.
If I hadn't got caught, I more than likely would have not came back the next year as a teacher. There was only about a month left of school, maybe 2 months left. Thought I'll finish the year and move on to something else.
And pursue the relationship, even though it was illegal.
Yes.
Because you were so desperate for attention.
And other people have done it, and nothing happened.
You're not permitted to communicate with this student now, correct?
Yes.
If he became of age and he looked you up, can you see rekindling this relationship?
If I wasn't involved with anyone else, possibly.
Who are you most upset with here?
My ex-husband.
Why?
Because he constantly called the cops. During this whole time, he was texting me horrible things. And then when I got arrested, he started texting my mom things like, tell your pedophile daughter to have fun rotting in prison.
That's the first answer you've given me today that has surprised me. When I said, who are you most upset with, I really thought you would say you. I understand he is an annoyance here, but I truly would have thought you would have said, yeah, I'm upset with me because I made the choice to succumb to that attention. I made the choice to allow myself to be kissed. I made the choice to give in and have consensual sex with this student. I made the choice to get in that car and drive 650 miles and get in a hotel room. I made the choice to pursue a relationship with a minor, and I lost myself.
And I agree with all of that.
As you look back over this whole thing, what's your biggest regret?
Coming up.
He is a child. You did this with a child. Stupid is not a big enough word to describe what you've done here. Stupid, stupid, stupid.
Teacher Scandal Confession. A Dr. Phil exclusive continues.
As you look back over this whole thing, what's your biggest regret?
Ever letting it happen. I should have stopped it from the very beginning as soon as the flirting started, but I didn't.
I want to close this by giving you my opinion and assessment of what happened. Stupid is not a big enough word to describe what you've done here.
Yeah.
Stupid, stupid, stupid. I don't think this had anything to do with sex or love. I think it had to do with emotional damage. I do think you've hit the nail on the head. I think you were seriously hurting emotionally, and it made you vulnerable. And it made you see things in a distorted way. You violated a trust that was placed in you as a teacher, and I think that gives teachers a bad name, and I think teachers are some of the most dedicated, underpaid, sacrificing professionals in our entire society. It was wrong. It was just wrong. He is a child. You did this with a child, and they don't have any business being in relationships with authority figures and adults. You let your needs trump your responsibilities with him, and that's wrong, and you blew it.
I agree.
There's going to be some accountability here, and I hope you don't ever do anything like this again. You get in a situation where you're hurting that bad, then get some help, and not from a 15-year-old child. Get some help from a counselor, pastoral counselor, psychologist, psychiatrist, trusted friend. Do something different. Don't find it in that way. You're very young. You need to work this problem and get it behind you. And it may seem like the end of the world to you right now, but it's not. It's really not. The world's a very forgiving world for people that step up and own their situation and say, yeah, here's what happened, and I get it, and I'll own up to it and put it behind me, and I'm going to move on.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It seems like in most of these cases, the female teachers are at the center of these scandals and don't view themselves as sexual predators. They say they were in love with these young boys or in relationships with them, and that is just not the case. These boys are victims. They are being abused by someone in positions of power and authority. We need to be very vigilant in protecting our children and mindful of who we are trusting with their care. Now, it's really important to me that we don't let a few bad apples give the entire barrel of teachers a bad name. Because by and large, teachers are some of the most dedicated and selfless professionals in our entire society. And we owe them a big vote of confidence and a big thank you for what they do. Let's not forget that. For more information, go to drphil.com.